The cameras were rolling, the lights blazing, and millions of Americans were tuned in. What began as just another heated congressional hearing quickly spiraled into a moment no one would forget. The air inside the chamber was so tense it could have been cut with a knife. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez leaned forward, her eyes flashing with indignation as she pointed across the table. Her voice rang out with sharp defiance. "You're nothing but a thug, Senator Kennedy." The word echoed in the room, startling even her allies. Gasps erupted among the audience, and reporters' bands scratched furiously as if they had just been handed a headline on a silver platter. John Kennedy, the seasoned senator from Louisiana, sat back in his chair, unmoved. His expression didn't harden, it didn't even twitch. Instead, he folded his hands calmly on the desk before him. The silence that followed her accusation was louder than any shouting could have been. For a moment, it looked like Kennedy would let the insult slide, but then, with the steady tone of a man who had weathered storms far greater than political name-calling, he began to speak. "Congresswoman," he said, his southern drawl cutting through the tension, "where I come from, a thug is someone who uses power to bully people who can't fight back. A thug is someone who takes from others without giving anything in return. Now, you tell me, which of us does that sound like?" The room froze. The jab wasn't shouted. It wasn't delivered with malice. It was spoken with the kind of conviction that comes only from truth. And that's what made it sting. Ak blinked, caught off guard. She had come prepared with statistics, sharp comebacks, and her signature passion. But she hadn't expected Kennedy's response to be so calm, so precise, so broken bar devastating. The murmurs around the chamber grew louder. Even some of her supporters shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Kennedy didn't stop there. "I may talk plain. I may not fit the mold you'd like me to, but I was raised to respect folks even when they don't respect me back. I was raised to fight for the farmer who's about to lose his land, for the single mom struggling to put food on the table, for the small-town kids who don't think Washington knows they exist. If that makes me a thug in your eyes, then maybe Washington could use a few more of us." The chamber erupted not with anger, but with applause. It was rare in those halls for any speech to receive such a genuine reaction. Kennedy hadn't just defended himself, he had redefined the very insult thrown at him. Meanwhile, felt her cheeks burning. She tried to pivot, to regain her footing, but every word she spoke after that sounded forced, defensive. The more she talked, the deeper the hole seemed to get. The headline she thought she had created for Kennedy was now being etched with her own name at the center of it. Later that evening, as the clip spread across social media like wildfire, the reactions poured in. Supporters of Kennedy praised his composure and dignity. Even critics admitted he had handled the moment with grace. Ak's comment, meant to wound, had only backfired. Instead of exposing Kennedy, it had exposed something about her, a moment of weakness, a flash of disrespect that didn't sit well with the public. But the story didn't end there. A week later, Kennedy was invited to speak at a town hall in his home state. When asked about the incident, he didn't gloat. He didn't mock his opponent. Instead, he told the crowd, "We're all gonna make mistakes, every one of us. What matters is whether we learn from them. My hope is that we all start talking more about ideas and less about names we call each other, because America's got bigger problems than who can land the best insult." That line brought the audience to its feet, and it carried a powerful reminder beyond that hall. Dignity will always outshine disrespect, and character will always outlast insults. By the end, the thug comment that was meant to humiliate Kennedy had instead elevated him. And the lasting memory wasn't Ak's outburst, but Kennedy's unshakable composure and his call for unity. The backfire wasn't just political, it was moral. And it left Americans with a simple, inspiring truth: you don't need to shout to be heard, and you don't need to insult to win.